Good evening, class. So, we'll be discussing polity and governance topics. For current affairs, what will be their means? The topics for the day are E85 fuel launch, India's flex fuel transition, report on data sets for State Finance Commission, ESC PM recommendation on delimitation commission, Supreme Court quashes a POXO conviction case, Shrishti Kiran tops global under 19 tennis rankings. First, we'll start with E85 fuel launch, India's flex fuel transition. Okay. In simpler sense, see, we are always trying to go towards greener energy, cleaner energy. So, in that, what we are trying to do is cut down carbon emissions. Okay, the keyword here is cut down carbon emissions and move towards something that will not give that much of particulate matter. We have PM 2.5, PM 10 as the two particulate matters, which is posing huge amount of disadvantages for India. India, in order to try to move towards cleaner, greener alternative fuel, it was looking for options. In that, Brazil, a country called Brazil, you know that. So, they started using something called as flex fuel. Okay. Now, for most vehicles, if you see, there is completely purely diesel vehicles, which means the vehicle is run completely only on diesel. Then there are certain vehicles which are run purely only based on petrol. Okay. These are completely carbon utilizing. They use so much of carbon that they pollute the atmosphere. Then they started something as ethanol blending. Okay. Ethanol blending vehicles started, but where they mixed ethanol with your conventional fuels, diesel, petrol. How much they were blending means it was about 20%. Now, Brazil started doing what means 80 to 85% of ethanol is blended. Only remaining 20%, okay, is your conventional petrol or diesel. So much so that this is called as flex fuels, okay, which has 80 to 85% of ethanol blending, which reduces your pollution level by 61% and your particulate matter is almost nil. Based on that, we also brought this concept in India. Any vehicle which uses this flex fuel is called flex fuel vehicles. When this was brought about, this inauguration was done by the Union Petroleum Minister. Now, the debate is, okay, we have inaugurated, so will it be running everywhere in India? We have only 3 models of vehicles doing that as of now. So, we want to improve it further. This is the first step in inauguration. That is why we are looking into this topic. So, why is it in use? Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas launched E85 fuel vehicles or flex vehicles. The launch was held in New Delhi on World Environment Day. This marks a major step in India's flex fuel transition or moving more towards ethanol blended vehicles. Next, what is E85 fuel? Fuel containing 80 to 85% ethanol remaining 14 to 19% are only petrol. This concept you can use only in flex fuel vehicles. Why? Because simple thing is, if you have to use this, then engine has to adapt to this. You can't create a petrol vehicle created engine and put flex fuel and start running in this, or you can't go take a conventional car and start putting flex fuel. It can't operate on that. So engine here, if it is a E20, E85 or E100, which means how much percentage of ethanol you are blending, that engine will automatically adjust and it will not be compatible with your ordinary vehicles. So because of this, your flex fuel can be used only for flex fuel vehicles. Specifically, engines and body has to be made to suit this. So currently how many vehicles we have? We have only 3 vehicle models of flex fuels, and the initial launch and all happened in 2026. It will be happening and proceed up to 2027. This is the beginning stage. Where did we get this idea from? Your Brazil model, because 80% of Brazil's light vehicles, which means not something used for very heavy duty but just normal consumer passenger vehicles, which India also has for a large extent, all of them are having your blended or flex fuels vehicles. Okay. So this showcases that if we start utilizing more ethanol, it is good for our farmers also. How you have to grow more of your non-farm products also, which will be used in creation of ethanol. And then the second thing is, it will give a more cleaner alternate and greener alternative to your carbon consumption. Okay. So what is the difference between your E20, E85, E100? As of now we are doing only E85, that is the maximum. E20 is 80% petrol, 20% ethanol. E85 is 15% petrol, 85% ethanol. E100, this is for complete greener. It will be 100% ethanol, no petroleum at all. Okay. So all these 3 will have significant engine changes. Normal conventional models will not work on this. Okay. So what are the advantages? If we start using flex fuel vehicles, 61% of reduction is there in your greenhouse gas emissions, and also it gives near zero particulate matter emissions. Remember, PM 2.5, PM 10, all this is completely reduced. It reduces the carbon footprint and cleaner urban air. So this will help us with air pollution, climate mitigation, sustainable mobility. Okay. And also, if you see right now we are going through, you would have seen in news that Iran and US are trying to make a deal. Anything that happens in Iran becomes an important issue in India. Why? Because we are the one country who is 80 to 85% dependent on crude oil imports. Anything happens there affects India's energy security. But now if we start using these kind of vehicles, it will reduce our demand on crude oil imports. And also another thing is, we don't have to worry about our forex being spent on this. So this will be a good thing for India. But the only issue is, large scale it has to penetrate to your country. What are the advantages of E85? That is, see, if consumers ke liye, if you tell this is good for you, this is good for nature, this is good for overall country, world, everything, that is not enough for them to start using it. You also have to make sure they will feel the nudge to buy that, which means you have to make it as a cheaper option. Cheaper option means, here if you see how much is flex fuel costing, means it is 20 rupees cheaper per liter than petrol. You are giving this is so that the customer will feel the nudge to buy this. Now it is not like petrol I will purchase only one time a year. Every time I will be using. Every time 20 rupees reduces, how big of a deal it will become. So for that reason, the benefit is passed on to consumers, and it promotes domestic ethanol industry to produce more ethanol to blend. Also, when you have a flex fuel vehicle, you have higher research octane number, which is 108. What is higher research octane number? Means it is the ability of how the vehicle performs at lower ignition. So, if you have higher flex fuel, that is higher ethanol blending, it will lead to higher RON number. So, what will happen? It will give better combustion, improved ignition, better engine efficiency. All this is a benefit in your flex fuel vehicles. So, how is government trying to make sure people will come to know this, use more of this? First and foremost, it is going to promote flex fuel vehicles, vehicles which will use flex fuel. And they want to expand E85 fuel stations. Normal petrol station pe you will not get flex fuels. You have to have specific fuel stations which will give E85. If you purchase a car and there is no fueling station, people will not again buy it. So, first create the fuel stations, make it accessible for them, then they will purchase it. Understanding? And also they are telling 26% of ethanol blending should be made mandatory by 2030-31, because overnight pay we can't put rules. So, what is the overall importance? We have importance from economic perspective, environmental, agricultural and energy. How is it economic? Lower import bill because we are importing less crude oil, and also agricultural because if you have to make ethanol, it will be made things with your sugar cane, maize, these kind of crops. So, more of these crops will be sold, additional cost or your additional income will come to the farmer. Next, environmental, it gives cleaner alternative fuels and also particulate matter reduces. Energy wise, we are reducing our consumption of fossil fuels. So, we will see one possible question on this. With reference to E85 fuel, consider the following statements. E85 contains around 80 to 85% of ethanol and the remaining portion is 80 to 85% of ethanol and remaining portion is petrol. Correct? E85 can be used in all petrol vehicles without engine modifications. No, it has to be with engine modifications, otherwise it will not run. E85 has higher research octane number than conventional petrol. Yes. So, correct options are 1 and 3 only. Next, report on data sets for state finance commissions. Okay, in this there are few important things that I will tell you that you have to just note it down. If you want, you can note that down. First and foremost, if we are going to discuss about state finance commission, one ministry becomes very, very important. This they will usually ask in the match the following question, that is Ministry of Panchayati Raj. Okay. So, see, when we started out, that is 1947, when India got freedom, 1952, first General Assembly elections was done. 1950, Constitution was ready. When Constitution was prepared, we made India as a federal country, that is two-tier structure. India initially was two-tier structure. First structure, center, state. This was all we had. 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment in 1993 made this into a three-tier structure, which means now the country is having 3 layers or 3 levels. The third level was Panchayat Raj institutions. which is otherwise called as panchayat and municipalities. Now when a special zone of this was created, up until here, up until 1993, money or any functions or including concurrent list, if you see, it is only state list, central list or concurrent list. So all this was based around center and state only. Now when they created this new level, they had to create one body to distribute finances also. For that reason, they specifically in 73rd and 74th Amendment Act told, let us create something called as State Finance Commission. What is the role of the State Finance Commission means? It gave the role to governor. Governor has to constitute a State Finance Commission at the end of every 5 years. His role is to tell how much percentage of money state should give to the local bodies. Exactly how Central Finance Commission works. Okay, it is told in which act? 73rd, 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Was this there before in 1950? No, it came only in 1993. Understanding? So, the State Finance Commission will give on submitting reports as to how much state should give for Panchayat Raj institutions. This we call as devolution of funds. So, recently Ministry of Panchayat Raj has released a report on data sets for State Finance Commission, which means which state is having how much percentage of amount released, and also let us say panchayat means it is very small, so many panchayats will be there, so many municipalities will be there. Each of these panchayat and municipalities, how much is the money they are spending, how much money is it they are getting, all this they had to publish. Ministry of Panchayati Raj is central level, right? In this they have identified few things, including 16th Finance Commission in the center also identified few things, telling that the reports that are coming, okay, are at least 16 months outdated. Now this was surprising. Government data usually it will be present data, no? Why is it 16 months outdated? Then they told because the panchayat and municipalities in their level have no one called as auditors. There is no one specific person having auditing knowledge to tell, okay, this much money was given to you from state. We used this much money. We further needed so much money. At least all this you have to write it in one place. Nothing of that sort happens. Why? Because they don't have necessary staff to do this. You are just telling one person only to do all the work who has no knowledge on this. Because of this, they are not giving proper data. And when State Finance Commission has to tell the states you have to give this much money, it is not having the right amount of data only. It has to use outdated data to tell the state how much money is to be given. Because of this, what is happening means panchayat and municipalities are not effectively getting money or resources. So even they are not performing well, nor are they able to give good data. Okay. So the question now is telling us we need a proper report. Why do we need proper report? Because as of now we have all fragmented data sets. It is all here and there data. Weak Gram Panchayat database, delayed State Finance Commission report, it is of poor quality and non-uniform data, and this affects the fiscal devolution. They are not knowing how much to suggest the state to give the money for. So, this report told what is the issue with the panchayat and municipalities means there is no one integrated financial records. Sector wise spending, let us say on education I spent how much, healthcare I spent how much, water and sanitation how much I spent, no such data. Roughly I got 3 crores, now I have spent 2.8 crores, that is all. What did you spend, where did you spend, why did you spend, none of those data is available. And why is it like that? Because shortage of trained accounting staff at panchayat and municipality level. And also the data they are giving is completely outdated data, old data. If you ask why, they will tell we have not written the latest data. And this leads to ununiform reporting. Because of that, even your center is not able to do anything. The same thing 16th Finance Commission also told, the State Finance Commission reports cannot be used because they themselves are not getting proper data. So, 16th Finance Commission even told, why don't we amend the constitution provisions under Article 280. Article 280 is creation of Finance Commission, Central Finance Commission, okay, where they are telling, see, Central Finance Commission right now, if money has to be coming to your panchayat or municipality, it is through two ways. One is through your State Finance Commission, which will tell the states to give money. Another is through the Central Finance Commission, where it will tell the center to give money. But what is the provision according to 280B, 3B is, the Central Finance Commission will give money or will tell the center to give money to panchayat or municipality based on State Finance Commission reports. But up until now we have established State Finance Commission reports cannot be trusted, it is all outdated. So, this is the issue, understanding? Now, where and all do we collect data from your panchayat and municipality means e-Gram Swaraj portal, okay. They have digitized the portal, but even in that digitization also, they are not putting the entry at all. If entry only is not there, how can you collect data, whether it is digital medium or physical medium. Next is Panchayat Advancement Index. This is there to measure panchayat performance. If you put some data only, you can measure. Nothing is put, so you cannot even mark what it is. Census and SACC data, in that it does not even tell about these things. It is highly outdated. CAG audit reports are the only thing that we can get proper auditing from, but they do not audit for your panchayat. Okay. The first two things are very important, write that down. Done? So, what are the key recommendations that your Panchayat Raj is giving means? Restructure the Panchayat Advancement Index, that is, in every place tell how much is your need, how much is the performance, how much is the backwardness, state wise all these data has to be collected, okay. And Gram Panchayat database should be constantly updated as to how much money was given, how much have they spent, in which sector they have spent, and all the data has to be uploaded in a timely manner. Next is, you have to make sure that Ministry of Panchayat Raj will work with Ministry of Statistics to see that they will be able to get the data properly, because Ministry of Statistics is the one that has all the things with data and numbers. Okay. Next is with respect to CAG performance audit. CAG is also told that assess the financial devolution also, just have a look at how much money who is giving to whom, because your CAG will not go to Panchayat and audit, but it can see how much money was spent overall. And they want to create a permanent State Finance Commission cell so that they will know exactly how things are happening and not just once in every 5 years. Now, the recommendations that is coming is, first and foremost, create a uniform accounting format for all the panchayat and municipality throughout the country. Because each state is giving one random data, we are not knowing what to do with that. Next is, you have to make sure each state you will compare the data to see how the, now let's say southern states means, among southern states how are they performing? Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, how are they performing? Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, how are they performing? So it helps us track which state needs more rather than telling give this much to southern states. Okay. And also they are telling whole point we are having this difficulty is because we are not having dedicated trained staff. So you have to train the programs, okay, as to for each program you will get this much money. For example, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Pay, you have got this much money means you have to train the professionals, officials, how you are supposed to add the data, okay, what data where you will add. So you will also teach them how to add data, teach them the statistics, you will teach them the concept of record keeping, okay. So what is State Finance Commission? State Finance Commission was established by 73rd 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. It promotes fiscal decentralization, it reviews panchayat and municipality ka financial conditions. It is how many members will be there in State Finance Commission is not fixed. Everything will be determined by the respective state legislature. What should be the qualification of State Finance Commission? Again, everything will be fixed by that particular state legislature. Appointment process also will be determined by the state and recommendations should be submitted. State Finance Commission will give their recommendations to whom? To Governor. Governor will then lay it in front of state legislature. Okay. So it is under your article 243, that is where all these things will come. Okay. We'll see one possible question. With reference to State Finance Commission, consider the following statements. The governor of a state constitutes the State Finance Commission every 5 years once. The State Finance Commission reviews the financial position of both panchayat and municipality. Correct. The composition and qualifications of State Finance Commission are prescribed by the Constitution. No, it is prescribed by that respective state legislature. If it, see, one simple logic is, even if you don't know state legislature, remember in the starting I told you Constitution initially it created only two structures, center and state in 1950. This body was created only in 1993. How will they write the qualifications in 1950? So it is state legislature. Correct options are 1 and 2 only. Next, ESC PM recommendations on delimitation. If you see the images here, all this is over the years how India has been reorganized. India has been reorganized means, for example, here if you see, initially reorganization happened in 1956 based on a linguistic basis, administrative basis, all that polity pay they would have taught you. So there is this aspect where in our constitution there is a provision that tells that after every census is conducted, you have to reorganize the Lok Sabha seats and state legislative assembly seats. Okay. How will you reorganize it? Which body will do it? Means delimitation commission will do it. Census is conducted every 10 years once. What is this concept of delimitation means? In 10-year timeline, each state will have increased population or decreased population and all this, no? So based on that you will keep altering the seats. Clear? So that is done by delimitation commission. Delimitation Commission is a very powerful body. The chairman of Delimitation Commission is a retired or serving Supreme Court judge. the members who are there in delimitation commission means your chief election commissioner and election commissioners. These three are only there. So, you can't even question the judgment or result in any court of law, because that itself is equivalent to a court of law. Okay, that is how powerful your delimitation commission is. Now, what happened if your country, India, keeps growing stably, means this procedure can be carried out, it is a very good procedure. But what happened in India is, after independence, huge amount of population growth. So much so that by 1971, it was population outgrowth. It was not population growth, it was population outgrowth. Let us say in this classroom I can fit 200 people, let us assume. Somehow pushing everyone, throwing all the chairs out, let us say I will put 300 people. That is the maximum capacity. How it would be if I try to put 10,000 people here? That is outgrowth. This land can handle only this much people, but this is overgrowing. So, what happened 1971 pe, the Prime Minister at that point of time was Indira Gandhi. They froze all the Lok Sabha seats, telling if we keep on going like this, we do not know how big it will become. So, we will freeze the seats what we have set, 545 seats you would see for Lok Sabha, no? It is like that only constant. Why? Because they said we will fix it at this limit. We will not do any delimitation. But rather from now what we will actively do is do population control. We will try to reduce the population, stabilize the population. Then when stable population is achieved, then we will do delimitation. That was a very good idea. Okay. Now, as and when years went, 2001 pe they told, see, freeze let us keep like that only. Internally let us see how any divisions can be made. So, 545 seats only, but within each state without changing the total seat number, internally we will realter based on population. They did in 2001, that is also fine. Then what happened? They made one final deal. Let us keep this extension of freezing the seats to 1971 level. Last year for that to happen is 2026, this year. So, after 2026 delimitation has to happen, they told. Now, the issue in doing the delimitation is from 1971 to 2026, if you see, has population stabilized? To an extent, yes, but how has it stabilized? That is the issue. All the southern states have strictly implemented population measures. They have made sure that population will stabilize. All southern states, but they have reduced the population. The northern states, especially UP, Bihar, they did not take population control very effectively. Because of that, what happened? Population has increased there. Now, if you do delimitation, delimitation is more the population, more the seats. So, technically it will look like the northern states which did not do your family control, population control will get more seats. Southern states which did it so much difficulty pay, it will be reducing their seats. It is almost like you are punishing for the good behavior of states. So, this is the issue. Government recently launched your 131st constitutional amendment bill also trying to tell that let us introduce delimitation. But southern states are very equivocal, telling we do not want delimitation. Because if you do that, then you will remove our seats or reduce our seats and increase the northern state seats. How is this fair? We worked so hard. So, now a commission has come where they are telling, see, do not do delimitation merely just on population. Take so many metrics into consideration as to how much is a particular state contributing to the state economy, how is the poverty level in that state, how is the welfare measures in that state, how is women empowerment, how is maternal mortality, how much health has seeped in. Look into all these things. One advisory council, okay, economic advisory council for PM, okay, they have told that if we have to do the next delimitation, go for a multi-factor approach. not population alone. Okay. So, this is why we are looking into this topic. So, what is the major recommendation? Go for targeted delimitation. Don't strictly just stick to population. Use multiple demographic indicators like I told you, poverty, maternal mortality, health, education, the contribution to GDP, right. So, use urban population share, SC share, ST share, linguistic diversity, linguistic polarization. All these aspects if you consider, that time delimitation will be better off rather than doing on population. Done? So, up until now what is the data we are using? Means we are still using 2011 census data only, because 2021 census was not yet carried out because of COVID pandemic. So, they are telling the seat allocation should be in such a manner where you retain the current proportion of Lok Sabha seat for larger states. The states which didn't do population control, don't increase their states, keep it at the same level. States which have did that, okay, population control and all those, man, also on the previous things that I told, based on that you give them the seats, okay. And also use 2027 census data, census which will be conducted now, this data you use so that we will get a proper accurate data. What is delimitation? Delimitation means redrawing of territorial constituencies. For which one? Lok Sabha, State Legislative Assembly, not Rajya Sabha. Keep that in mind. Okay. Why are we doing this delimitation? So, everyone will have equal representation and free and fair elections will be conducted. Where do we have a mention of delimitation in Constitution? Article 82, Article 170. Article 82 tells Parliament will do delimitation after every census and readjust Lok Sabha seats. 170 tells it will readjust State Legislative Assembly seats. Then we will move ahead. So, delimitation commission comprises of chairperson and 2 members. The chairperson will be retired or serving Supreme Court judge. Member will be Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commissioner nominated by him and State Election Commissioner of that particular concerned state. Now, they have the authority, if they give an order, it is equivalent to a law. Whatever order they give, it cannot be challenged in a court of law, because that itself is equivalent to a Supreme Court verdict. Okay. Parliament cannot modify the order given by delimitation commission, same as by state legislature. That is the power of your delimitation commission. So, what is the delimitation history? How many times India pe delimitation has been conducted? Means after 51 census we did 52 pe delimitation, 61 census in 63, 71, 73, 2001, 2002. But in this fourth one, no, Lok Sabha seats were frozen at 1971 census levels only. Here this was internal readjustments. Okay. So, 84th constitutional amendment extended the freeze till 2026. This becomes important. Done? We will see one possible question from this. With reference to delimitation in India, consider the following statements. Delimitation is the process of redrawing the boundaries of Parliament and Assembly constituency. Parliament means specifically here they are talking about Lok Sabha. Assembly constituency means state legislative assembly. It is correct. Article 82 mandates Parliament to enact a delimitation commission after every census. After every census, that's what originally Constitution told. After each census, do a delimitation commission. So this is also correct. Article 170 deals with readjustments of seats in state legislative assembly. 82 is for Lok Sabha, 170 is for state legislative assembly. So all three are correct. Next topic, Supreme Court quashes POCSO conviction. Okay. See, what happens is in India the concept of, let's assume child. Okay. Now, who is considered as child in India? Means anyone below 18 years of age is considered legally a child. Now, if you engage in any sort of activities, okay, be it sexual activities or in a very disturbing sense or even your pornographic content, any of those things, that is illegal. Okay. Now, let us assume your rape, all this is illegal irrespective of whatever age it is. It is a social ill. But if you are doing that to a child, one thing is, let's say you will go complain against that, okay, this person so and so raped a person. See, you have to consider two things. If the one thing in Indian judiciary is, it takes a lot of time. Too much court cases pending, you have to keep going to courts, all these things. If you tell a grown person is going dealing with this is fine. 5 years, 6 year child, constantly you have to keep on taking them to courts. If you have to keep on making them go through the same things again, it is very horrible. So, to make sure that the cases which are involving children are very fastly disposed of, they created something called as POCSO case. Okay. This is prevention of, okay, your sexual activities which will be done with respect to your child and all these things. Here child means they are considering both male as well as female, because at the end of the day your gender is not the one defining your age. Boy or girl, you are a child. POCSO covers both. Now, what happened means, POCSO cases usually they try to finish it off within 1 year. The Supreme Court tries to finish it off within 1 year, and also there is rules that tells that if at all media is going to be reporting about this case, they should not show the victim's face, because the victim is a child. Once you showcase the image of the child, then that entire life the child carries the burden. Even if it wants to forget, it cannot forget. So, there is a rule that you cannot show the identity of the victim here, first thing. Second thing is, why we are discussing this particular thing means, recently Supreme Court used Article 142. Article 142 in Indian Constitution is complete justice. What is complete justice means, even if a court has given a verdict or anything that is happening in India, if court feels like no, my intervention is necessary, it can exercise Article 142 and direct whatever it wants. Like that one incident was there. One person was charged with POCSO case. Okay. On him, they had instigated, okay, this person has to go to prison for so and so things and all. The Supreme Court used 142 and removed that. No, he will not be punished, he will not be put into prison and all. And people got very suspicious to why, what is he doing? Then they told, no, the victim married the person. Okay. Now, the victim itself is telling, no, if you punish him, then it is like you are taking the person away. But in this case, see, when two, let us say 16 years or 17-year-old or someone voluntarily, they will have some consensual thing. But still when a child is doing below 18 years, you will not consider as legal consent. But after this, the child ended up marrying after becoming a major and all that. Now if you punish the person, you are not punishing the person, you are punishing the person victim here. So looking at the victim's plea, they told, okay, we will remove all this quashings. This is what we are seeing here. Okay. So Article 142 was invoked, and in that invoking they removed the punishment under POCSO case. Why? Because the victim married the accused once the victim got majority is crossed 18 years. So here the POCSO case was set aside because of one sole factor, marriage factor. Understanding? So according to POCSO case, less than 18 years old, you are considered a child. It covers sexual assault, sexual harassment, child pornography. The whole point of POCSO is to keep everything child friendly, from reporting to investigation to trial. Understanding? So this POCSO was brought in after India signed to your UNCRC, that is Child Right Commission. You will protect child rights, you will create child friendly environment. After that they created POCSO. So what are the features of POCSO? It is applicable to boys and girls equally. It is important that your courts follow speedy trial, and all the procedures have to be child friendly, and the burden will shift to the accused. Okay. The child is not the one that has to go through the harrowing experience again and again, reliving those moments. POCSO rules of 2020, this they have brought in newly, telling that every single thing has to be child friendly procedure. Even asking or questioning the child should not be like how normally you will try to do to prove a point in courts with the lawyers. Institutional safeguards such as your child identity, everything has to be kept in mind. Rehabilitation measures where they have to come out of that situation. And last is monitoring and reporting. Anyone has any idea that such a thing has happened, okay, you may not be the person who is involved there, or that person is not concerned to you, but you have to report that, because it is the matter of child we are talking about. These rules become important because it completes 5 years. Write this down. Done. So what are the mandatory provisions? Every person must report the offence. It is not like I don't want to be involved, I am not wanting to be concerned, and there is no such thing. It is your matter of duty. Failure to report also will become punishable offence. And also confidentiality faction, where the identity of child victim should be protected at any cost. It should not be disclosed in any medium, either print medium or digital medium. And if anyone violates it, it is a punishable offence. Next, POCSO Act का original punishment was given based on graded punishment. Based on the severity of the crime, punishment will be given. But 2019 they made one amendment. Based on the severity of crime, we will even given you death penalty. Understanding? This includes for your very worst forms of sexual harassment, okay? And also in order to make sure that this fear has to be there, that if you commit crime against children, even the minimum sentence or a minimum punishment should be very stricter, okay? And this has to be in such a way that it has to scare people to do anything against children. These were all the changes which was brought in 2019. So, Article 142 is an extraordinary power of Supreme Court which it will use in rare scenarios. This is important. And it is called complete justice.
Ma'am, is it only for POCSO cases or any cases?
Any case. They use that in POCSO case in this condition. Done? We'll see one question. With reference to POCSO, Prevention of Children from Sexual Offences Act, consider the following statement. Act applies only to offences committed against girl children below 18 years of age. No, it is gender neutral. It's not only girl, it can be boy also. This is wrong. Identity of a child victim cannot be disclosed by media under provisions of the Act. Correct. Any person having knowledge or reasonable suspicion of an offence under the Act is legally required to report it to concerned authorities. The 2019 amendment to the Act introduced death penalty for certain aggravated sexual offences against children. Yes. Correct options are 2, 3 and 4. Next topic. Shrishti Kiran tops global under 13 tennis rankings. This is more important from only your governance perspective. Recently they are asking sports related news. So, Shrishti Kiran, she is from Bengaluru, who has secured a milestone of under 13 category, where she is the first ever Indian to have gone to that level. Okay, everything in here we will be about discussing is tennis. Okay, so she is the let's say she has played less number of matches, but let's say 13 matches, but she's got very high rankings, which makes her the first Indian to get that. So, she won 5 consecutive your tennis titles. Okay, these overall aspects you don't have to by heart and all, just the fact that the Grand Slam tennis, okay, and someone from India, from Bengaluru is achieving this higher feat. Okay. So, your International Tennis Federation was founded in 1913 in London, United Kingdom. This is the overall governing body for tennis. Okay. So, they are the ones who will develop the rules, regulations, all of these. Next, if you see in your tennis federation only, there are 2 things. One for men, that is called Davis Cup. Another for women, that is called Billie Jean King Cup. Understanding? These 2 are both again brought under your ITF only. So, what is the point of your World Tennis Tour? It let's say there is certain provisions where 14 years and above you will be able to go to majority of Grand Slams and all. Now, in that you have to have a bridge, ITF junior rankings and then professional tours. Bridge is this ITF World Tennis. Okay. So these are all the tournaments which was conducted, okay, where we have your Grand Slam, which means for your tennis, okay, where and all it was done: Australia Open, French Open, Wimbledon, US Open. Okay, you don't have to buy heart any of these things. So again, in Wimbledon is the oldest tennis tournament where they will conduct this tennis matches, okay, and again dress codes, all those things not necessary. But one thing is Grand Slam board, which means the International Tennis Federation has this concept of 4 Grand Slam tournaments, okay. One major thing about your Grand Slam tournament is players below 14 years are not eligible to compete. You have to be at least 14 plus, okay, and you have to be open to internationally ranked players. Now her case pe, she's played less number of matches, but internationally she's ranked higher, okay, so much so that she's the first one in India to have such high rankings. So Shrishti Kiran is first Indian who has got such high ranking under 13 in Bengaluru, okay. We'll see one possible question. With reference to International Tennis Federation, consider the following statements. It is the global governing body for tennis. It was founded in 1913. It organizes the Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup. Davis Cup men, Billie Jean King Cup women. So all 3 are correct. With this we complete today's topics. Clear up until here? Any doubts? Online class, any doubts? We'll end the session.